Welcome to HFY Beyond Terra, where humanity doesn't just survive, it becomes the galaxy's biggest surprise. Subscribe, and let's go beyond Terra.
The Empire measured life in probabilities. Every breath, every word, every movement was weighed against outcomes, risks, and efficiency. It was how the Empire ruled half the known stars with a population smaller than many of its conquered worlds. It was also how it created its most feared weapon, Veil Core. Across 12 systems, his name was spoken only in coded references and half-finished sentences. He was not called an assassin in official records. He was a corrective instrument. Where rebellion threatened, where treaties frayed, where leaders became inconvenient, Veil arrived, and the galaxy quietly rearranged itself. He had never failed, until the assignment marked human, juvenile, non-combatant. The target, the briefing chamber aboard the stealth cruiser Silent Mandate, was cold enough to sting exposed skin. Veil stood motionless as holographic light painted the air before him. A small human girl rotated slowly in blue projection. Dark hair, thin limbs, soft features. No visible implants, no weapons. Designation Mara Hale, the Empire's strategic intellect intoned. Age 13, local cycles, location Frontier World, Kestrel's fall, probability of destabilization event linked to subject 87%. Veil's eyes narrowed. Explain, he said. Subject is the daughter of Jonah Hale, the intellect replied. Human civilian, former logistics officer during the Terran border conflicts, currently employed as a hydro engineer. Psychological modeling indicates his emotional dependency on the subject exceeds 70%. So, Veil asked. So, the intellect said smoothly, Jonah Hale is a convergence node. His actions within the next standard year will initiate a cascade resulting in unified human resistance across 3 sectors. Veil folded his arms. And killing the child prevents this. Yes, there was no hesitation in the machine's voice. Veil felt something unfamiliar tighten in his chest. He had killed heads of state, warlords, entire command staffs. He had extinguished bloodlines older than some stars, but a child, why not eliminate the father? Veil asked. Multiple attempts projected to fail, the intellect replied. Human adaptability exceeds prior estimates. Emotional leverage is the optimal solution. Veil stared at the hologram. The girl smiled awkwardly, frozen in a captured moment. Probability of success, he asked. 99.1%, the intellect said. You will proceed immediately. Veil nodded once. Orders were orders. 2. Kestrel's fall. Kestrel's fall was not a world that should have mattered. A dusty frontier planet with wide skies, shallow seas, and settlements built more from stubbornness than design. Humans favored it because it was quiet, too far from the core to be profitable, too boring to conquer. Veil arrived unseen, his ship cloaked beneath the planet's ion storms. He studied the settlement for 3 days. Mara Hale attended a small learning hall in the mornings. She helped her father repair filtration units in the afternoon. In the evenings, she sat on the roof of their home and watched the stars, her legs dangling over the edge. She laughed often. Veil watched from shadows and rooftops, mapping patrol routes, exit paths, angles of fire. She never noticed him. Jonah Hale, however, noticed everything. Not Veil, not directly, but the way the wind shifted, the way unfamiliar footprints appeared near the well, the way birds went silent at odd hours. Humans, Veil realized, were predators pretending to be prey. 3. The approach. Veil chose a direct method. No explosion, no sniper round from orbit, too obvious, too clean. The intellect wanted grief, trauma, a wound that would hollow the man out. Veil waited until evening. Mara was alone on the roof, sketching constellations in a battered datapad. The sky burned orange as the system's twin suns dipped below the horizon. Veil stepped into view. She froze. They stared at each other. Veil was tall even by human standards, his armor matte black and seamless, his face partially concealed by a breathing mantle. His eyes glowed faintly, an Empire modification optimized for threat perception. Mara did not scream, instead she squinted. "Are you lost?" she asked. Vale hesitated. That hesitation, just half a second, was enough to fracture a flawless career. He began, her head tilted. "You're not from around here, you smell like metal." Vale had no response prepared for that. "My dad says travelers should eat before they talk business," she continued. "Do you want stew? It's algae and root, but it's okay." This was not in the projections. "I am not here for food," Vale said carefully. "Oh," she said, "that's a shame." She smiled at him anyway. Something inside Vale recoiled. 4. Jonah Hale found them at the table. Vale sat rigidly on a low stool, a steaming bowl of stew in his hands. Mara chatted happily beside him, describing how she was pretty sure one constellation looked like a frog if you squinted. Jonah stopped in the doorway. Years of war had etched caution into his bones. His eyes flicked to Vale's posture, his hands the subtle stillness that screamed danger. "Mara," Jonah said softly, "go check the filters." "But now." She groaned but obeyed, hopping up and vanishing outside. The moment she was gone, Jonah reached for the old plasma cutter under the table. Vale raised one finger. "If you do that," Vale said calmly, "I will kill you in under 2 seconds." Jonah froze. They studied each other. "Who are you?" Jonah asked. "The end of things," Vale replied. Jonah laughed once bitter. "Figures." Vale did not move. Jonah exhaled slowly. "You're here for her." "Yes." Jonah nodded, jaw tightening. "Then why are you sitting at my table?" Vale looked down at the stew. "I do not know," he said honestly. 5. Probability collapse. Vale's internal systems screamed warnings. His neural augmentations tracked millions of possible futures. Every second he delayed reduced mission success. Yet here he sat, eating human food, listening to a man breathe. "You won't understand this," Jonah said quietly, "but whatever you think you're preventing, you're wrong." Vale said nothing. "You people think in outcomes," Jonah continued. "We think in choices, that's the difference." Vale looked up. "Your species is inefficient." Jonah smiled sadly. "Yeah, that's kind of our thing," Mara returned, humming. Vale's hand twitched. He could end it now, a single motion. Instead, he set the bowl down. "Why does she matter so much to you?" Vale asked. Jonah did not hesitate. "Because she's better than me." The answer struck Vale harder than any weapon. 6. The drink night settled over Kestrel's fall. Jonah retrieved a dusty bottle from a hidden compartment. "This is old," he said. "Pre-war, I was saving it." Vale watched as Jonah poured 2 glasses. "You're insane," Vale said. "Probably," Jonah replied. "But if you're going to kill my kid, you're at least going to look me in the eye first." Vale took the glass. The liquid burned. Humans called this alcohol. The Empire banned it as a destabilizing agent. Vale felt warmth spread through his chest, loosening something long locked away. "You know," Jonah said, "I used to believe the Empire was unstoppable." "And now?" Vale asked. Jonah glanced toward the roof. "Now I believe in her." Silence stretched between them. For the first time in his existence, Vale felt uncertainty that was not a calculation. 7. Decision. The strategic intellect signaled urgently. "Mission failure imminent. Execute immediately." Vale stood. Jonah tensed. Mara's laughter drifted in from outside. Vale turned toward the door, then stopped. He saw it then, not in probability graphs or predictive models, but in Jonah's eyes, the spark. Humans did not bend because of leverage, they broke and then they burned. Vale understood, if he killed the girl, the Empire would not prevent rebellion, it would ignite it. Vale deactivated his weapon. Jonah stared. "You're leaving," Jonah said. "Yes," Vale replied. "Why?" Vale paused. "Because the Empire has miscalculated," he said. "And because tonight I learned what courage looks like." 8. Aftermath. Vale Core never returned. Imperial records listed him as compromised, then missing, then deleted. Years later, when the human-led coalition dismantled the Empire sector by sector, soldiers whispered stories of a shadow that moved ahead of their fleets, destroying Imperial command nodes, sabotaging predictive cores, and vanishing before thanks could be given. On Kestrel's fall, Mara Hale grew up. She became an engineer, then a leader, then something the Empire could never model, hope. And somewhere among the stars, an assassin learned how to choose.